Hello, I am Zachary Divelbiss, the owner of Future First Criminal Law. Today I've got a great presentation if you're ever pulled over, which can literally happen to every single one of us. So, this is what we call the glove box guide to traffic stops. This is a reminder of what can happen, some of the things that you should be aware of, and I'm going to go through these quickly to make sure that this isn't a super long video for you, to have the basics, to have the understandings, because this can happen to anyone. If you're stopped by the police, remain calm, stay in the car. A lot of people want to try and get out of the car, don't do it. Sit patiently, wait for the officer to approach your vehicle. If it's dark outside, turn on the interior light, keep your hands on the steering wheel, be respectful, not confrontational in dealing with the officers. Very important, ton of information can go into this. For the sake of brevity, I'll continue on. Produce your driver's license, your registration, and proof of the insurance when the officer asks you to do so. Don't start rummaging around looking for these items until the officer asks for them, because the officer is going to be watching you warily, is going to make sure that you're not searching for a weapon. Especially on our DUI cases, the longer it takes you to get these items, the more likely that they're going to write in their report that it's because you were drunk. So get them before the officer even gets to your window. Get them today. Have them ready. Then answer identifying questions. As always, try and say as little as possible. If the officer asks, "Do you know why I stopped you?" all you got to say is no. You don't need to make small talk. They're not your friends. They're not there for a conversation. You don't need to tell them where you're coming from, where you're going, who's in the car. Nothing along those lines. If they happen to ask, all you need to do is simply identify yourself, your name, driver's license, and that will suffice. If you're asked to get out of the vehicle, and this happens very often, you must close the door behind you. Keep your hands in plain sight. Don't put them in your pocket. Once you're outside of the vehicle, the officer may pat you down for weapons if the officer has reasonable suspicion that you might be armed or pose a danger to him. It is not you who gets to determine the reasonable suspicion, it is the police officer, and then we as the lawyers can help determine that as well. You must obey this command, though, to step out of your vehicle. Next, do not consent to a search. If you are asked to consent to a search of your purse, your backpack, anything in your pockets, the interior of your car, your trunk, your glove compartment, any of those things, say no. It's a great point at this spot to start asking for a lawyer. You're not there to have a conversation about why they can or why they can't search certain places. Your job is just to say no. If the officer is asking for permission to do the search, that means that he or she does not have any legal justification to search you, which means you have the Fourth Amendment right to refuse the request along with any passengers in the vehicle. If they get a search warrant, that's a different story, but at the same time, you still need to say no. Finally, the bullet point here is if the officer writes you a citation, that is fine. You don't want to try and sit there in the middle of the road, wherever you are, and try and fight the ticket. Just accept the ticket, sign for it, and call a lawyer. We'll be there to help you. Continuing on, this is very important for when this leads to the arrest. Because if they don't just give you a citation and tell you to be on your way, they will likely arrest you. So you need to know your rights. When you're taken into custody, you have certain constitutional rights. You have the right to remain silent, the right to consult with the lawyer, and the right to have a lawyer present during questioning by the police. Very simple, very straightforward. You have these rights. There is no way to get out of these rights unless you don't use them. The police can't think anything less of you or think that you're admitting guilt by asking for a lawyer, so please do it. Next, do it immediately. Immediately assert your rights. You can lose these rights if you don't speak up and assert them. For example, I wish to remain silent. I will not talk or answer questions until I've consulted with my lawyer. My lawyer's info is Zach Divelbiss. Here's a phone number. To be honest, you don't even need to know my phone number. You can just literally say, "Future First, I want a lawyer." After you say you wish to remain silent and you say you want a lawyer, you are not allowed to say anything else after that. So that's where I say here, remain silent. Once you've asserted your rights, be quiet. The purpose is for this police investigation. They want you to start talking. They're going to keep asking you seemingly harmless questions. It's all part of the trick there. Do not say anything else. Do not consent to the search. Once again, the officer will search you incident to the arrest. This is the body, your body that they will be searching, or your purse, or different parts of the vehicle. If you are arrested, some of those legal justifications allow them to, but if you are asked, your answer is still no, you do not want them to search. If the officer has that reasonable belief to believe that there's evidence of the crime for which you're being arrested might be found in the car, they can do it without some of the warrants that are needed there. However, if they once again are asking you for permission, please always say no. And there's one final point here, especially for our DUI cases, that is not included in our slide here, and that is for the blood draws. If the police take you for a DUI down to the police station and they ask for your blood, I do recommend that you say yes. Yes, officer, I will give you my blood. The reason why is because if you say no, then they're allowed to automatically suspend your license for 1 year, whether there's any drugs or alcohol in your system or not. That's part of your driver's license requirements, so the police use it to get you pretty much in trouble. Other than that, you should be saying no to every single one of the field sobriety tests. You should be saying no to consenting to any searches. And when answering questions, your answer is no, I want a lawyer and I want to remain silent. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Some of this can get complicated, but we're here on your side and here to help you. Thank you.